everybody, to Multiplayer. We are back. We are back from the dead. Oh my goodness. It is insane. Let me tell you, everybody, it has been quite a minute. Almost 2 years to the day since our last recording. Hav, I don't know if you knew that. October 11th. Shut up. So, I'll get to you, Hav. I'll get to you. So, before I get into introducing our panel for today, I just wanted to say, yes, Multiplayer is back. The podcast by gamers for gamers, where every week we talk about what we love most, and that sure isn't the 2020 election. It is video games. And man, it feels good to be back. It feels good to be hanging out with friends, even though it's a virtual hangout versus in person, where you can yell in people's faces. That's usually what I prefer. But you know, it's been a weird year. 2020 has been kind of poop. And, man, it feels great to just be able to... Oh, it's been very poop. Super poop, maybe? But yeah, so every single week, we're going to be recording again, coming at you in your ears and in your face. We're on podcast services everywhere. You know, the old... I think it's not Google Play anymore, right? It's Google Podcast or something now.
I think it's still Google Play, whatever that, music. I don't know. It's something weird.
Whatever that is, you know, your Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Like, subscribe, all that, so you can hear our stupid voices music every week.
Play music.
Well,
that's what the podcast.
Google Play Music doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's what it's called on here.
Now that we've got that little longer than usual intro out of the way, let me introduce the panel for this week. Our returning host, Mr. Loverboy himself, Javier Ortiz.
What up,
baby?
Boy? It's been a while. Glad to be back.
Thick
and
boy?
I'm glad to not be sitting next to you guys, too. I got my own space. It's nice.
Yeah. COVID-19 safe space. Yeah.
That's right. You got a lovely view of my kitchen. Yeah. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is this... I thought this... Are we showing... Oh, we're showing the video for that, or...
I mean, we have video recording, so for those looking at video,
I'll do the close-up of your little coffee pot in the corner. Yeah, I'll do a close-up of that there. Yeah.
Remember, everybody, this is our first recording in quite some time, so it's gonna be a little rough, but we're gonna work it out, baby. Next in the panel, Mr. Kahan. I'm gonna say this funny, Dumavandi.
Ooh, that's right. Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Not much, just hanging out in my space. I have my brand new AC units because I don't have an AC in my room. This is my AC unit that powers my life right now.
Wow.
What on earth is that?
That's cute.
What is that? Do you put like ice in there and it just like blows?
You put water in the top part of the filter and then it drizzles down to this massive GPU fan, basically, and then you have a filter you put in this little slot and it cools it. Essentially, it cools it for a smooth 20 minutes, and then it becomes warm like the rest of the room, and then it just shoots hot air at you.
It's my first AC unit.
Yeah,
I know that's like the tiniest thing I've ever seen. It's just basically like a shoebox.
Yeah. So I'm just slowly cooking alive, but yeah, it's all good. Coronavirus, can't complain. It's not too bad.
All right. And then, of course, we have Joe Rue.
Hey, guys. What's up? Thanks for having me on.
But spelled like Ryu. So I have a feeling that Street Fighter character Ryu sued Joe and was like, yo, you can't use my name.
I get that. I get that a lot. Honestly, of all like the same last names I'm share, I think it's one of the more like the better ones you can ask for. Like to be like, hey, you know this character like Ryu from the game? I'm like, yeah, I do. It's a character.
and that's not how you say it.
Yeah. It's like,
and then you just Hadouken that man. Cool. All right. So everybody's introduced. Sweet. Well, before we jump into some topics for this week, I mostly want to kind of Joe and Kahan are both new to the Multiplayer podcast. So, basically want to chat with these jabronis for a second Everybody can get to know them. This is the first time I've ever talked to these people.
Yeah.
So let's get to know some peeps. So, Kahan, you jabroni.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about yourself, my man. Who are you? What are you doing? And
why are you here?
Where am I going? Yeah. So basically, I'll just sum it up my life pretty quick because it's pretty uneventful. Essentially,
that sounds about right.
I was born in Mission Viejo. Sucked at school there. We moved to Big Bear in the mountains, like 7,000 feet up. From elementary school to high school, just sucked. I hate the outdoors, so it sucked. It was cold. I love the weather. The weather in Big Bear is amazing, but I hate everything else about Big Bear, so it sucked. And then we came to Los Angeles, beautiful LA, where it's like hot all the time and it doesn't rain, so it sucked. But I got my first job as a production assistant, which was pretty fun because I learned that jobs suck. It was pretty fun. And then after that, I moved in with my sister after I couldn't afford rent, and she's really awesome until you become a roommate, and then she sucks. But then after that, I moved back to LA once I got a new gig as a production assistant, and that was slightly better. It was pretty fun. And now I've been doing photography. I'll just show some photos here, and here on the screen. Those are some photos I've taken. So I do photography on the side, which is amazing. Never sucks. Always amazing. And then I guess I just play video games. I'm like homeless, but I have a home. Essentially is what my behavior is. I'm literally, I just do what keeps me alive, and then I just go to sleep at night. And I happen to have a roof over my head, so I can't complain. So
what a legend.
I'm just eternally grateful. I'm just blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. I have a roof over my head, so I can't complain. Yeah. That's my life story.
All right. Kahan, everything sucks.
Except photography. And I have a roof
Except
over
photography.
my head.
Nice. So, all right. Real quick. Favorite console?
Oh. PC. No, I'd probably say maybe GameCube. Like, favorite console, I think, overall? Or just that I've had experience with, personally? Like,
just overall, There's no wrong answer. It's your thoughts. It's your opinions.
I'd still say GameCube.
It can be your PC.
Oh, it can? PC. Oh, PC. All night and day. PC.
Yeah,
As a kid, GameCube. As an adult, PC solely because of modding and just like the ability to just mess with games to like the 10th degree. It's just so much fun. But yeah, GameCube because of like they have the best, I feel like, party games no matter what, like Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Party. All these games are like perfect for friends and the ultimate LAN party experience. But yeah, once I became an adult and I had my own computer, I was like, I didn't go back ever. So PC for sure.
All right, well, you're off this show. I'm just kidding.
Wait, no.
Just one of those like big cartoon hooks just come in from off the screen.
Yeah.
All right, so favorite video game of all time.
Oh god. Ooh.
That's a tough one.
It is tough.
Oh,
Zach, do you have one?
Yeah, do you have one? Uno reverse.
I've got a good top 5. I would say.
Nope, that's not a top one.
Nope. Yeah,
I would say just because it's, my nostalgia and everything for it. Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh, that game sucks.
This is like the greatest game of all time.
For you, maybe.
For you. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Kaon.
No, I think for mine, then for sure it would have to be Witcher 3 in terms of like story and like actually caring about characters. The big thing for me is since I know I'm playing a video game, I don't care about the characters like 90% of the time, just because in my back of my head I know this is all fake. But Witcher 3 is the only game where I actually got like into the world and the lore. I never played any other games, so I started Witcher 3 not knowing anything, and that's the only game where I can go in not knowing anything and learn all I need to know and also be invested in all the characters that already exist. It was weird. It was kind of like dropping in that timeline. It's like if you play Halo 3 and it was like an amazing game, and you just bounce back out. You just don't know. Yeah, you're just like, yeah, you get it.
That's what that means.
Or it's like an awkward timeout.
That's how I describe games. Timeout, too much fun, please. But yeah, Witcher 3 for sure.
You know, I just started playing that like a week ago, and oh boy, do I not like that video game.
But you played
What?
You played on console, right?
Yeah. I've been
Yeah,
playing
it's
on console.
PC. I played on PC, so like it's just.
Wait,
Beyond-
that shouldn't
beyond
matter
the-
though.
Wait, what?
That shouldn't matter. Like the core gameplay. I mean,
Well,
Oh,
it
yeah.
could potentially be a little better because I like right now I am not into the fighting system. It's just kind of poop.
Well, the
my
fighting
opinion.
system is there is a very bit jankiness to it. Like I don't know how it is on console, but on PC, I know there's like a lot of fun jankiness when it comes to like when you knock someone off their horse. Sometimes they'll clip, and they'll
Yeah.
like have like a lag, and they'll fly back like 10 feet or something. But for me, the game had like second wind once I added mods to it after the fact. I already put 80 hours into it before the mods. But I think also I just cared about the story more, and I'm really into that whole old sort of
Old stuff.
timeline, just like old
Old.
stuff. Yeah, and witches,
Old
and
timer stuff.
witchcraft and wizardry. Yeah, I'm into all that. Shit,
oh, like
so,
medieval kind of time.
Yeah. Also the gaming babes. Yeah, the babes. There's so many babes.
Speaking of babes, Joe, what's up?
What's
How's it going? What's up, baby?
I'm good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I was born and raised in Chicago. I moved to LA for college. Then after college, I got a job as a PA where I met Kahan and Hav.
Hey.
Yeah. So they became friends of mine. And then let's see. After that, then Corona hit, and then so I got laid off. But then I started a new job this week, and then that's about catches up with the rest of my life.
What a life.
Very nice.
Damn,
Yeah.
nothing sucked. Are you sure, dude?
Just really sum that life up in about 30 words.
Aren't we all
I'm a
just
very
so
efficient guy.
insignificant?
Nice. All right, so Joe,
Mm-hmm.
favorite favorite console.
Oh, my favorite console is the GameCube. Yeah, no question, for sure.
Nice.
It's like the first the first one I ever had was Super Nintendo, which is also a great console. But the GameCube just was the second one I got, and I still like play it all the time.
Just totally skip the 64.
Oh yeah, I never got the 64. My parents were super strict on video games. So when we got the GameCube, like that was when they were like, all right, we'll get them this, you know? So I skipped the entire Nintendo 64 like genre. Yeah. It's kind of sad. That's why like I never like played Super Mario 64 before, you know? This is like the first time I'm playing it when I got the All-Stars 3D.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, the GameCube is man, that's probably my favorite console too. I think we're all like a bunch of GameCube guys up in here.
It's
I
the
mean,
best one.
say-
Yeah.
You can ask me. I'll have a different answer.
No, you won't. So,
Well,
Joe,
honestly,
favorite,
it is comparable with the Switch now, if I had to think about it. But I only just got the Switch, but so
Yeah.
far the Switch is also like just like on fire when it comes to like
Yeah.
games, and it's just like
it's
compatibility.
on fire.
Yeah, but favorite video game though, I'll tell you that I can answer that one easily. Hav knows the answer. It's Chrono Trigger. If anyone knows that game,
Oh hell yeah.
that game is #1 game of all time. It still is, I think.
I've
And
never played it myself.
Yeah, it's just like for like a 32-bit game, like the look of it is so beautiful still. It's like a very colorful game. They do a great job with it, and like the music is of course just like one of the most famous soundtracks of all time. And yeah, I love everything about that game.
Yeah, for sure.
I could talk about it for hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly like just 16-bit sprite games just hold up so well. You know, the ones with like really good art to
No,
them.
that's what it is.
Like
It's so
pixel art, like things like I think Earthbound, like that game is gorgeous to this day, and a lot of those like older like Square Enix games, or SquareSoft games. I mean, just beautiful 16-bit sprite work. So it's just holds
it looks
up.
so good. Yeah. And
Especially
I can't even and getting into the story too. Like the story in itself is so amazing how they like pull that off.
Oh hell yeah! The one thing I always liked about it was art was done by Akira Toriyama, who did Dragon Ball Z.
That's right.
And as a Dragon Ball Z kid, I was like, oh man, it looks so good. And it just was like Gohan with red hair on the cover, and I was like, oh my god, it looks so cool. And that's what sunk me into it when I was a kid. And to this day, like the artwork is still gorgeous, like in game, and like the character artwork like outside the game is beautiful.
So great.
I feel like that was something that they probably didn't think about it at the time, but obviously here in the U.S., it's like anime and kind of just Japanese art in general. I mean, not much of it had reached the U.S. at that point. It was still kind of like a new market. Anime was like this weird thing that nobody really
like Dragon Ball.
You had those like
most famous, of course, at the time.
Exactly.
And like Pokemon, I think I would say.
Yeah. So it's like, Dragon Ball Z came out here, and obviously that was huge. And so just something by the same artist, like you look at that cover and you're just like, oh man, Dragon Ball Z, I know that. And it's just, so I bet that it's one of the things that probably helped its success here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I have no evidence to back that up, but
I'll tell you one of my favorite fun facts about Chrono Trigger, though, is that among the soundtrack, I don't if you ever play the game, the very last song is called like of the game when you beat it, like the credit song is called like "To Faraway Dreams," right? And it's a beautiful song. And then the guy who did the soundtrack actually dreamed of that song. He came up with it in his dream. And I love like when I hear about artists doing that, like when Paul McCartney did the same thing when he wrote Yesterday. He like dreamt that song. And it's just I'm just like, that's so cool when like your own subconscious gives you a genius idea. It's just a really cool fact.
That it is. That's why I just dream about the insults I'm gonna throw all of your ways.
I just have nightmares. I don't have dreams. I don't dream. I just have nigmares when I'm awake.
Dreams.
I don't even dream when I'm awake. I just have nightmares. I'm like,
that explains a lot.
Because dreams suck.
Dreams suck, dude. Photography though is amazing.
All right, well, obviously, myself and Hav, we've been here since the beginning. We're OG, but, real quick, in case anybody is just hopping in brand new for the first time, Hav, give us the cliff notes.
So, Philly, LA, multiplayer podcast, here I am.
Nice. Favorite system?
Super Nintendo.
Favorite
Hands
game?
down. Mega Man X, hands down.
Ooh.
Damn. Those are good selections.
It's so like the Super Nintendo I think is still like the library to this day is like untouched. Like the amount of
but the Super Nintendo is delicate now. It's not a built like it can't withstand like like a certain amount of PSI. You know what I'm saying? The GameCube is indestructible.
Joe, why don't you stay over there?
The GameCube has
the GameCube rivals like the black box and like an airplane crash. They're like they should. That's what they make their stuff out of. It's out of GameCube.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, just systems in general back then were just like indestructible. I literally, and we're gonna get to like some EA Sports games here in a second, but I literally in my woods I found a Super Nintendo copy of FIFA 94, I think it was, and it was wet from the rain, and I plugged that into my Super Nintendo. It worked just fine.
That's crazy.
Back when all you had to do to fix stuff for like IT work was just like, and then you put it back in, it works.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good to go.
Those indestructible Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
So cliff notes for myself then. Virginia boy, gone Los Angeles. I've been out here for a real long time. I don't even know what Virginia is anymore. Creative producer by day, hardcore gamer by night. If you're watching the video side, you can see all this crazy nonsense behind me. And favorite system is probably GameCube. That thing is just
the best.
Legend.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick with my answer from earlier: Super Mario Bros. 3, followed by some other stuff. All right, so let's get into some news of the
Let's
week.
dive in. That's my favorite thing.
Whatever. Let's
to
have
dive
in. All right. So first news article of the week, whatever this is. So NHL 94 is back. That's right. NHL 1994, that game, that very old game, it's back.
Ooh.
And it's coming to, I guess it's coming to, oh my goodness, what is happening?
Sorry, those are my roommates.
His team really sucks.
It's football season.
We got a bad football team in the other room. But we're not talking about football. We're talking about hockey.
Yeah.
So back in the day, as I'm sure a lot of people knew that had a Sega Genesis. Man, the Genesis just was crushing it on the sports side of things. That was like one of their biggest pushes that they made back in the day. It was like, we're gonna have better sports games than Super Nintendo. It's like Genesis is gonna be the place to play. And obviously they pushed the Genesis towards, kind of the, teenagers and stuff. So it was like the cool system where you can also play sports. And so, sports at the time, there's some sweet games that were coming out for the Genesis. And NHL 94 was among them. As it's still got like legendary status. There's websites dedicated to that game where you can go and like talk to people about NHL 94. And the people have like tournaments and stuff. It's ridiculous. And that game, like, it's been a minute since I've played it, but man, I remember all those old NHL games, and I'm not even a hockey guy, and man, they were fun, especially getting in fistfights with people.
Yeah,
It's a great game.
Yeah.
That's the thing to me, that's what defines a great sports game, is that when people who don't necessarily really like sports or sports games can find the love in it.
Yeah.
Like that's what NHL 94 did. Like, it's so much fun, and you don't have to know anything about hockey to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically EA Sports, they know this. They know that it has legendary status. So they're bringing it back in NHL 21. I guess it's like it's a mode within the game, essentially. So you can go in and just play NHL 94, which, I think it's kind of a weird way to bring that game back. I feel like it should just be its own, like, $9.99 SKU or something. But, just the fact that they're bringing it back in some way, shape, or form is pretty cool, because it's like,
They're honoring it in a way.
Exactly. So it's the same game, but with an updated roster. Which is
basically
great.
Basically it's just a bunch of names that are different with different barely insignificant skin tone changes, because when you look at the graphics, no one's gonna know the roster unless they see the name underneath the player, honestly. Like, that's the problem with these games, these retro games. They can get away with doing whatever they want, because let's be honest, these assets are like super easy to make, and they know they're just gonna charge full price for it too. That's why they're pairing up with this game, because they know they couldn't sell this on its own. Like, if they just resold it, if they added a mode, but they're trying to do this to make maximum profit.
I disagree. I think it would sell really well by itself.
I know I'd pick it up. If it was like $10.
$10, $10-$20. I'd pick that up for Switch.
That
Yeah,
just seems
10,
like
20
the whole
bucks. Yeah, will they sell for
gaming
10,
marketing
20 bucks?
right now?
That's
Anyways,
the thing, though.
It's just
Yeah.
appeal to people our age and just who strictly will buy stuff off nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's the whole marketing, like,
Basically chumps. Yeah, people that just
strategy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking right before we started the podcast. Like, I paid $60 for, Mario 64, which is like a 25-year-old game.
Exactly.
It's crazy that we do it anyways. Like, we know we're willing to do it.
You're
'Cause we
self-aware.
can play Mario 64 on any emulator, right? But the
Yeah.
fact that it's on Nintendo Switch, we're just like,
Yeah.
yes, we need this. Yeah, they know it too. They're like, we know you need
They're
this.
like, idiot.
Yeah, yes, I want it.
Yes.
We're dogs,
Yeah.
man.
So I was I thought this topic was interesting just because it's like, man, I think it would be awesome to kind of bring back some of these like kind of old school sports games, kind of the arcade style and the more sim style games. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this from everyone. Joe, I'll start with you. First of all, did you play any of these old school sports games? You had Super Nintendo, so you were always getting the inferior product. But
no.
But curious your thoughts.
Yeah. So I didn't play the any of these old games. The first video game I ever played was Madden 06, which was the year that or Madden 07, I'm sorry, because that was the year that the Chicago Bears went to the Super Bowl and Devin Hester had like a running speed of like 100. Yeah. So that was just like a legendary game in itself. And since I'm a Bears fan, like that was like the only sports game we ever needed to play. And actually, I lied because the first sports game I ever did play was actually NBA. I just remember it was NBA Jam, right? But that so one good. Isn't. That's a great sports game, but it's more like a sports arcade game. It's it wasn't really trying to emulate like the realism of sports of playing that game, right? Because I feel like that's the goal, right? In terms of like what EA Sports has been trying to do, especially over the last 20 years now, right? Like every game is supposed to be slightly more realistic to the real thing. I think that's like the ultimate goal, right? Don't when you play like NBA 2K or Madden, right? Eventually it's supposed to it's supposed to simulate more and more realism, right? Yep. But the charm about these older games is that that wasn't like they were trying to because they knew they were limited by the technology of the time. They could get away with doing jumping 30 feet in the air and then having the basketball be on fire and stuff. And then it was way more fun because that it was also appealing to kids too. People who didn't even like the sport, watching it or playing it in real life. And I think that's why that game was super successful too. But in terms of NHL, that never came into my possession or my life. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play that one. But in terms in terms of sports games though, I mostly prefer to play the real things. That's probably why I don't have a lot of actual experience in sports video games.
It's all good, but things like NBA Jam though, man, I wish they would just they don't need to touch that game at all. Just bring it back out with online co-op and it's done. Don't have to touch anything else. That game is literally perfect. Mm-hmm. Kayhan, lay it on us, man. I know you've played this game. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so quick story. I never actually got the Sega console. When we moved into our house in Mission Viejo when I was a kid, someone left their Sega console with a bag full of games in the attic of the house. What? And we found it. They had every sports game. So my passion for sports games came from a plastic bag with a Sega, and I swear to God, they had the NHL, they had the soccer, and they had I think the basketball game. I don't know if EA did all of those, but it was all the same style, so I'm assuming it was EA's games. But definitely the hockey game is one of those that I had, and I played it, and it was really fun. Before any of the loot box, it was just straight gameplay, straight fun, little simulation here and there, and it was just fun seeing the players interact with each other. It was really cool at the time. I think it's good they're bringing it back, but I think people their fans are self-aware. Even I'm self-aware. When I buy a FIFA game, I had a problem with their packs. I actually had in high school I had a spending problem where I spent $200 on FIFA. Nice. Granted, I had one of the best teams in FIFA 12, I think, but I also spent $250, which is a waste. Yeah, and when I play the next game, I'm like, my team's gone, and they're like, yeah, try again, and I'm like, oh. So basically, I'm happy.
Dude,
they're
you're
bringing
their
it
favorite
back.
Customer.
Yeah, idiots like me. It's funny, but it's funny because they don't.
You're
reward
the problem.
They still don't reward you. That's the funny thing is
you're the reason why they think it works. They're like, oh,
yeah,
kids like Kayhan are willing to pay $200.
You're keeping them in business.
For a game that's gonna only last a year.
Yeah, that's the same thing. It's kind of like how Nintendo fans when they see the same game again, but slightly remastered or something, versus when they push out a FIFA game with like one or two things change, and they're just like $60, please. And that's kind of the problem. The old retro 94, I'm glad they're bringing it back, but I wish they just committed to making like, why not bring back the soccer one, the NHL and the basketball one, or whatever, all in the same like little bundle of retro games, like Nintendo did. Like, why not do that? They have no confidence in selling it in its own, which is why they're selling it with NHL 21, and why they offered a pre-order bonus where up to 10 Ultimate Team Diamond Player Choice Packs, 2 per month for 5 months. You get veteran choice packs and everything,
That's
and XP
so
boosts and bonus trait and
shysty.
specialization points. It's like, just give me the retro game. Like, what are you doing? Is this a casino? There's a whole description on what you get if you pre-order, and there's like a description this big on what the game's actually about. It's like, you can tell they're all about maximization of profit. Like, ever since I think FIFA 12, like years ago, they haven't been pushing anything forward. It's been slight fixes here and there. It's all about their Ultimate Team, their packs. So like these games, when they push them out, I swear to you, there's going to be loot boxes in this game. They're going to do cosmetics. There's going to be something where they're going to like rip it out, and they're going to be like, if you want the traditional costume or the traditional hockey team costume, they'll like have it as a separate thing or whatever. I think like you're saying, Zach, about the whole arcadey like street games, they should bring back Jam. They should have kept the street basketball game, the NFL Street, EA Big. They should have brought back all of those games. Like, EA Big was a huge game, and it was actually selling well. It's just they started doing weird things with the franchise, which made it kind of stop selling so well. But I think since they saw Ultimate Team's money, it's because it's a gambling simulator. Now they don't want to go back, and they realize, hey, if you make kids gamble, they are stupid, and they spend all their money instead of like making a good game. Because they also realize like making these games is easier, and they can throw in a loot box thing, and if people complain, they'll just take it out for a bit, then put it back in. I can go on all day. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks.
It's just kind of how all those sports games are. But I do like the idea of like the Disney Afternoon collection was like a
Oh, it looks so good.
yeah, that's like a perfect example of like what they could have done, where it's like, put like NHL 94 NFL or Mad 94, like kind of do like a whole collection of those games. That would be interesting to go back and just kind of revisit some of those like kind of classic sports sims. Yeah, they're fun in like a totally different way, even though they are sims. Hav, final words before we move on.
Burn it with fire. Bring back the classics, please. Bring them back.
I would just want this like as its own game again. Like put it on Switch or all the systems. Make it its own thing, because like the
charge
classic
like $5 too. Like you don't
like even if it's like a $20 title, like I'd pay for that because it's because it's so much fun, and like it's such a, I don't even want to say it's a niche market, because everyone that's grown up with this is now in their 20s or 30s. Yeah. And I'm sure they would all buy it again, because like NHL 94 almost has like a bit of a cult status as well. Like it's been in movies as well, not just like, it's not just a popular game like amongst the video game community, it's also just like a popular game like in the world. Like a lot of people, when you talk about sports games, it's like NHL 94 is always at the top, because it's such a good, like, not just hockey game, but it's just such a good game in general.
Yeah.
Like, what happened in 94 that like made it blow
I was
up?
born in 94.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
It was just everything kind of lined up. That was like the year they just, there was just like a lot of polish on the game, and great teams that year. Hockey was just like huge at the time. And I'm not a hockey guy, but obviously like Gretzky was huge, and all those other hockey
And the other hockey guys.
I know it was just that time where it was kind of like wrestling games in the late 90s, where it's like it was just huge at the time, and so that mixed with like really good gameplay, it's one of those games that just like WCW Revenge or like No Mercy, WWF No Mercy, it's like cult classic just because it's like, I was like a kid at the time, it was huge, and like this gameplay was amazing. So it's I think that's all the stars kind of just aligned for
when
NHL
did that
94.
Mike Tyson Punch Out game come out?
Mike Tyson.
Was that in, like,
Mike
the 90s?
Tyson Punch Out? Oh yeah, I mean that's early 90s. It's like 90.
Came around the same time.
Probably
It looked
1990.
Look around the same time. I heard that
What?
game unopened, brand new, like sold for like $70K, or no,
Wow.
over $100K. I'm sorry, in like on eBay. Which is
I wish I could
crazy.
waste my money like that. That'd be fun.
That's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll find it in a
but,
bag in the attic.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But really quick, I was gonna mention a perfect explanation of why that game was so good. I guess their first international like sports game, or first FIFA sports game, was their international soccer game in 1993. Because EA was made in like the 80s or something, the company, but they were obviously trying to make a name for themselves, so they had to put out a good product. Whereas over the years, they've been improving. They have been improving obviously a lot, but after a certain point we get diminishing returns where it's like we could push the boundaries and get something really good, or we can kind of keep chipping away at updates and keep releasing a marginal product, because like they really pushed the boundaries of sport games early on, and then they kind of like fell off. Like in I think 2007, 2008, like even the football games, like you're saying, Joe, like that was the epitome of like those games, like with the game modes, the single player, before multiplayer became a problem and they started realizing you can make more money off of multiplayer, like in those 08, 09 years. The founder or the CEO of EA at the time, he invented loot boxes for those sport games. He was one at EA that did that, by the way. I forget his name. He had like blonde hair, just
Bastard.
devil. I don't know. He's a devil.
That blonde-haired guy.
The blonde haired devil. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, the CEO of EA made loot boxes, and like the rest is history. And
All right, so we need to move on. But I do want to mention one more thing because I thought this was interesting. So here's my copy for the people on video of NHL 96 for the Sega Genesis. And one of the things that's always confused me, or I've wondered about, but I've never really had a real answer, is what's up with this yellow tab on the cartridge? There's always something where I'm like, well, the cartridges are slightly bigger, and they have these yellow tabs. There must be like an extra like effects chip or something like that they use for these sim games. So I finally looked this up yesterday. Man, these things don't do anything different. So basically EA at the time, they didn't buy cartridges from Sega. They just went through like a third-party manufacturer, and so their cartridges just look different than other Genesis cartridges. And I never knew that. I just assumed, just like a lot of games at the time that, needed like a beefier processor or something, like an FX chip. I just assumed something was going on with these, but nope, it's just like a look for EA games.
yeah.
So
Oh my
That's
gosh.
kind of funny.
I thought that was interesting. I never knew that in all my years of playing video games. I thought something was going on under the hood, and nope.
Nope, it's just
Leave
EA
it to EA
being
to
cheap.
deceive you like
Third-party
that.
manufacturers. It's just
Yeah.
EA. Never mind, they were always cheap, I guess. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Okay, moving on. So, jumping from EA over to Nintendo. So just the other day, Steve from Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
He was announced for Smash Brothers, which is
Oh, that was pretty funny.
Such
yeah,
a weird
it's
character.
Finally, what I've always wanted, Minecraft and Smash Brothers.
Dude,
Yeah,
we're
so,
really going for the kids on this one
It makes sense.
for sure. Yeah, kids
Yep.
love that game.
They sure do. So, Hava, I'm gonna jump to you first. I know you're a big fan of Smash. So, how do you feel about this announcement?
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. Minecraft is huge, and it was really huge when it came to Nintendo because, like, I think they had like a Mario thing where I'm not sure if you looked like Mario, but they included it somehow in Minecraft, didn't they?
Yeah, they had Nintendo skins, like Mario Brothers
Yeah.
skins. So you could play as
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Peach and Mario, Luigi, all them.
Yeah,
all them
and like
peeps.
that's enough for a lot of people to, like, as a Nintendo kid and people who love Nintendo who get really weird about it, like they'll get the game just for the skin. But no, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, Minecraft is insanely popular and amongst kids and adults.
Right.
It's and it also kind of shows like this whole Microsoft and Nintendo relationship just continues to grow, which it makes me think of like what other. I mean, I'm not saying that Master Chief will come to Smash, But
that should have happened. For
I'm just saying, I'm not ruling it out anymore. Just because like it just seems like Microsoft and Nintendo just keep holding hands and like becoming more and more fond of each other. You know? Yeah. Yes.
They're holding hands.
They're in there.
Yep, just like that.
Yeah.
But no, it looks really cool. I mean, I'm all for like the weirder the character, the better to throw it in Smash, because Smash has become not just like a Nintendo thing anymore. Like it seems now to just be a celebration of just video games in general.
Video games.
Yeah. And so like
just like the biggest crossover ever of like like all these franchises.
Yeah, and especially now with this one, because this one not only has new characters, but it has every other character from Smash history. So it's like, I don't know what the roster's at now. It's like it's over like 70, right? Like over 80.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's right around 80 now.
Yeah, like it's so much, and there's going to be more to come. But I think it's great. I mean, you know, like make all the obscure weird characters that no one would think of, and I'm really hoping that they'll still add Dixie Kong. That's always been my pick. I would love to see her in a game in Smash.
Nice.
Because she's such a cool character. But no, I think this is great. And I think it just shows that Nintendo and Microsoft are just going to continue to, to work together. And who knows, maybe it'll lead to someday having Game Pass on Switch.
We'll see. Could be interesting.
I mean, I don't want to rule it out. Like, Phil Spencer seems to really like Nintendo. Everything he says, like on Twitter, like he's so down for Microsoft and Nintendo to play nicely with each other,
Yeah.
Definitely. Kayhan, thoughts?
Yeah, no, that wasn't the first person I thought of when I want to play Smash Brothers. I was like, because I used to play Minecraft a little bit, like 7 years ago. I was like, that was a fun game. But on the Switch, I've always wanted like Master Chief or someone else. Because I imagine him like Snake, that kind of art style. If he's in the game, I'd imagine him like that, since he's like a hardcore, military guy. I don't mind this. I kind of like the goofy, wacky characters, but it's just like, it just shows how not in touch I am with like what Nintendo's up to with what they're thinking. Because when I saw Steve, and I'm like, oh, okay, I have no idea what's happening anymore. Like, I'm just out of the loop. Because I think Master Chief, what were the other ones? There was other rumors, right? There was Master Chief, Steve, and then like a couple other people, like before they announced anyone. I forget who, but I just
there's
think,
always rumors floating around.
Yeah,
it's like nonsense.
How many?
Goku.
This is yeah. See, this is a part of the player pack, though, right? The second player pack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Because I had the first one, and they're selling it for $29. Was it? How much was it for the player pass? Was it?
I can't remember.
Something was $29. Something was $6. I'm assuming it's $6 because I hope they didn't charge that much.
I think it's $30 for the pack.
Oh,
it comes
so
with
maybe
it comes with like 5 players, I think.
maybe
Plus like all the
individually
stages.
It's like $6 then or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, overall, I kind of like it. I haven't played Smash in a bit because we've all been home and their netcode isn't the best, and multiplayer is kind of meh on the Switch. So that's something they should improve first. Why haven't they fixed that? That's a whole other rant. I'm not talking about them, but
we'll get to that one day.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But yeah, as far as like 7 out of 10, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's good news, but it's like, all right, move on, please. Let's
I also think it's a chance to sell more units. Minecraft is so popular with kids.
That's why I think they did that. I mean, why else as a character with because how many non-Nintendo AAA games are on the Switch that are super popular? I think of Doom. Is Doom popular on the Switch? Does it even run well on the Switch? Because like the Switch also isn't as powerful as other consoles, so you have to imagine it's kind of hard to port their AAA games onto the Switch.
Yeah, but people, it's just the idea of like, man, I can play Witcher 3 on my train ride to work.
Oh my god, that is the worst. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that is the worst game to have. Honestly,
I mean, but you know what you're getting, and it plays fine. Just the picture quality is not great because it's a tiny little screen, and it's not 1080p.
I feel like if that's your first experience going into Witcher, it would make you immediately drop in. But this game looks horrible.
Yeah,
that's the problem with these.
But that's the thing. I think for people that
Geralt as a character, Rivia, Geralt.
I mean, he could easily work.
Yeah, he has this cool little Igni attack, like, and you just like, oh, sorry, that was kind of that's what it looks
Sakurai,
like. That's
Sakurai loves Sakurai loves his sword character, so maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, isn't there like 13? Anyways, yeah, you can go on.
There's a lot.
There's like 13.
It's like
Joe?
every Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Joe, final thoughts?
Nah, I think you guys pretty much just summarize it all up. I'm excited for it. I think like Hav said, I think it's a good thing for the game. I think it's only they're making all the right moves by choosing like an obscure but very popular character like Steve. The gameplay looks interesting. I think he'll be as annoying as any new character coming up. Yeah. But it's very, it reminds me very much of like that in terms of like these massive online like video games now. Like it's the formula is about updating it in terms of just adding new characters, right? So I honestly don't see any limit to the characters they'll add. I can see this Super Smash having well over like 200-man roster.
Oh my god!
Because a game like a game like League of Legends is at like 170 something, right? And it's and all the characters are still playable against each other, right? Yeah. I can only imagine it's just more and more stressful for the developers to try to maintain the meta as equal as possible, but it's an impossible task.
Yeah,
right? But it's fun. I think it's what's gonna make the game super popular. Which already is. So yeah, it's only
every time there's a new character introduced, I just keep thinking like, man, what's the next Smash game gonna be?
Yeah, I don't know how.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Like at this point, they don't need to make a new Smash. They just can make this
just
one,
update
right?
this
they
one.
Absolutely will.
They will.
They absolutely.
They
They'll
know
be like
that.
Ultimate 2. Yeah.
Yeah, they know that.
I think it also makes you think of like, well, what's the next Nintendo console, right? Because I think there are recent rumors about like a Switch upgrade, like a Switch 2.0 almost, where it's it's just basically like the PS4 Pro, the Switch Pro.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that extends its lifetime probably another 6-7 years. And if that's true, then you don't need to make a new Smash game for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not like Breath of the Wild, where like they can theoretically could just keep expanding the map if they wanted to, right? But they're making a sequel, right? Because they know that like that's not like an online game. There's like the story is just as important as the game, right?
Yeah.
But for a game like Smash where there really is no story, they could just go on forever. That's what I could see.
I think that's definitely going to be a game that we won't see a new iteration for, I would say, probably 10 years. Like I think they're just going to keep on, just putting out characters. I could see them hitting like 100 characters in this game over the next 5-6 years of like whatever the Switch 2 is and all that. Like, they've really like kind of developed themselves into a corner with like what the next game will be. But I do think that Steve's like an interesting pick, and always like the really weird characters I think are some of the best, like Mr. Game and Watch and Duck Hunt Dog and all these like weirdos. So so just keep giving me the weird characters. But I will say with Hav, kind of what you were saying earlier, like this relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft is like really interesting. Kind of how it's like. From Banjo-Kazooie to like, some of the games like, Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Cuphead and stuff like that, like come into the Switch, and Phil Spencer, being vocal about like, Switch is great. It's a fun console. Like,
like he's a big Nintendo fan.
Yeah. And I don't think he sees Nintendo really as as a threat to them. It's like kind of a different, player base. So it's like they really have had this like great working relationship the last few years. And so, I thought it would be interesting to kind of chat through the history of some like really weird partnerships in video games over the past, 20, 25-ish, 30 years. So, first up, and I don't know how much of this kind of stuff some of you youngins know about, but I definitely, remember some of this stuff back in the day and remember reading it in magazines and stuff and getting hyped for like the potential of what some of this could be. And so, first one, Sony and Nintendo, before the PlayStation was ever a thing, partnered up. Because basically at the time in the early 90s, you had Nintendo and Sega were going head to head. And, Sega's just like crushing it as far as like power goes. And, they're looking into, developing, they had like the Sega 32X for the Genesis, and then they were coming out with the Sega CD. And Nintendo's like, we got to keep up with this. We need to make our own CD-based system for the Super Nintendo. So they partnered up with Sony to develop an attachment for the Super Nintendo, which is like, at the time, totally makes sense. But now, you kind of think about it now, and it's just like, whoa, Nintendo and Sony are like making a console together. That's kind of wild. But yeah. So the funny thing with this, and it was going to be called the Nintendo PlayStation, and Nintendo just dipped out of they just they basically had like a one night stand and like dipped out of the situation. They're like, all right, well, that was great for a moment, Sony, but we don't trust you. We think you're gonna try and make your own system, so we're peacing out. So that's how we ended up getting the PlayStation, because like Sony was like, yo, screw you guys. Like you just totally like dipped out and made us look like a bunch of fools. We're gonna go and make our own system. So they came out with the PlayStation, and kind of the rest is history from there. Because they basically had built the system. Like there's one out in the wild, the Super Nintendo PlayStation.
Didn't it recently sell, or
yeah,
it recently went up for auction or something?
I think it sold for.
Sick. I wonder what it looks like.
It kind of looks like if the PlayStation and the Super Nintendo had a baby.
$360,000.
Damn.
Yep.
For $360,000.
$360,000 for the prototype.
That is a
It
relic.
looks fucking insane though. It looks like a toaster on its side.
It's like a beefier
That's
Super
some
Nintendo.
fascinating history though. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's cool because it's just like that really put into place like
you can make a movie about that.
Yeah,
I bet.
And it's like literally because Nintendo decided to just like fold on their deal with Sony, it just pissed them off enough that it just set into motion what video games are now. Because it's like without
this
that
Ultimate Empire franchise that rivals another empire.
Yeah, it's like the PS5 is about to come out. It's like if it wasn't for Nintendo, like Sony might have never gotten into video games. We might not have some of these like.
And it did it
iconic...
out of pure petty, like just straight up like I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah,
like, I wasn't about to do this, but now I'm gonna do this because you told me not to do this.
Sony straight up pulled a Thanos. We're like, fine, I'll do it myself. Like, oh my god!
Sound like the arm.
And then Nintendo's like, why do I hear boss music? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and sometimes I like to think about like an alternate reality where they like kept going with that deal, and now there's like some weird like Nintendo PlayStation, Switch, or like PS4 hybrid monster baby out there in an alternate reality, just like with Mario and Kratos in the same video game.
Yeah,
it
makes you think that like because Sony before then was just tech, right? Like it was just like electronic
like media or
company.
Yeah, because they were doing film too. They did film cameras and other stuff.
Yeah,
and whatnot,
so like if that's the case, like if this crazy alternate universe, this merger happened, would it be like Nintendo, a company by Sony, or like Sony games, like a division of Nintendo?
Can you imagine that there'd be like Mario and Zelda movies on Hollywood because like Sony would allow that shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It'd be wild.
That'd be in that weird universe.
I think it'd be more weird than good though, because when there's too many creative heads, like at a big company, like too many huge creative minds, that never usually works. Usually there's like confrontation or conflict or something, and they'd probably like fight for their ideas, and the game would end up being like a jarbled mess. I feel like it's better that they split apart And like we have Spiral the Dragon now. We have all these other cool games. That,
I was thinking, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, they would have so many mascots, because then you'd
Crash
have
Bandicoot,
you'd have Mario interacting with like Spyro and Crash,
that'd be kind of funny.
which and
that Tiki head, ooga booga booga. Yeah.
yeah, Aku.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one merge or like partnership that was unexpected for me, which was really cool, was Disney and Square Enix doing like Kingdom Hearts. That was like, I was like, really, these two got together
PS2
and
classic.
had a fun night together, you know what I'm saying? Like they were a little flirty last night, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
This is my favorite thing now.
That's Doc. It's the Apollo 13 Doc.
For audio
Dude,
listeners, Kahan is an idiot, and I don't know what he's been doing with his hands. This whole
I don't know how to
episode.
describe it.
upside down timeout.
Yeah,
I'm seeing
it's
a
a
timeout,
weird
but upside down.
reverse timeout symbol.
And it means
Dude,
docking.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, they created one of like the most successful video game like franchises also.
Yeah.
And like none of the Disney fans like know about it or like care about it, but the video game fans like love it. You know, like the
Yeah.
video
Oh,
game
yeah.
and Disney fans like love it.
Yeah. That's a great partnership. I didn't even think about that one when I was trying to brainstorm some of these. The fact that they were able to kind of do what they did with with those Kingdom Heart games is kind of wild, because Disney's
It's like the
pretty
most
protective.
respectable game video game Disney has ever gotten into, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's like Mickey Mouse Club, the GameCube version or something like that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but this one is like,
See, that's the thing. Like, you use that an example, but before like Disney and Square, like Disney had a good thing with Capcom on like the older games, like Aladdin and Lion King game, like very popular
right? Yeah,
games.
those games were those like platformer games. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of good ones.
Disney Afternoon Collection, just like we were talking about earlier.
Dude,
It was like those games.
DuckTales.
Yep.
So
Chippendales,
good.
like all that stuff's just
Yeah,
I don't know, man. The RPG aspect of it blew my mind, though. I was like, oh my god, Disney is like evolving. Like they know, like they know, like
It's just-
RPGs are way more sophisticated games than platformers.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like there was a moment in time where like you could fight Sephiroth with Donald Duck.
I know. It wasn't that just
It's
crazy.
so weird.
Yeah. It's so weird.
so wild. So I wanted to talk about two more real quick before we run out of time. Another one I think is pretty interesting, and one that I think it flies under the radar a little bit, even though it's literally right on the face of the console, is that Sega and the Dreamcast, they teamed up with Microsoft to come up with basically the operating system for the Dreamcast. So there's I think it's Windows CE. It's like basically a version of Windows that was like created specifically for the Dreamcast. And it's literally just a few years before the original Xbox came out. And so I thought that was like another interesting thing where it's like, imagine this alternate reality where the Dreamcast actually did well, and then you have Microsoft. Who knows if Microsoft even would have like entered the gaming business, because it's one of those things where I know they were kind of going back and forth on it for a little while as to whether or not they're going to do it. If the Dreamcast did well, they might have just kept partnering up with Sega to make whatever, the Dreamcast 2 or whatever they wanted to call it. So I think it's kind of interesting that I would assume like some of the software engineers for for the Dreamcast, they probably moved over to start help creating the original Xbox, because kind of the whole idea was like, we want to make a console that's basically a PC. And so basically having Windows as the backbone was like key to their what they thought was going to be their success. So I thought that was like kind of another interesting partnership just between those two companies, and just the what ifs there are kind of fascinating.
It makes you think again, like Sony kind of like meddling, or like maybe have a chip on their shoulder, because like it was really Sony was the reason why the Dreamcast ultimately failed. Like it didn't work out.
It was just one of the gems on their Power Glove.
Yeah, pretty
Just
much.
took them out. I'll do it
No, I mean,
myself.
it's like the birth of the DVD player like doomed
It's like
the
Soul
Dreamcast,
Stone
unfortunately.
Scene. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He has to
Yeah.
like, let go
Just
of
rips out a
Nintendo.
Dreamcast head.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's like just because of what Nintendo, did this messed up thing to Sony. It pissed them off, so they got into building their own system. So they came out with the PlayStation, which just totally ate Sega's lunch. Like the Dreamcast in the U.S., or excuse me, the Sega Saturn in the U.S. just did nothing. Like it did.
Poops.
God, I don't even know what that is.
Personally, I personally
it's
love
a car.
Yeah.
I personally love my Sega Saturn, but I'm one of the few people. Like everybody jumped ship from Sega and they went to the PlayStation, and because of that, once the Dreamcast came out, people had already dipped out of the Sega ecosystem, and they're like, well, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to wait on the PlayStation 2, which I remember in '99. And people talking about the PlayStation 2 and what that system was going to be able to do, and all the lies that were basically there were trailers like PS4 looking games where people were like, "This is what PS2 is going to look like," and everybody believed it. It was insane. But anyway, so it's funny how like all these things it's a domino effect where it's So anyways, last one I wanted to kind of bring up, and this is a much newer one. This info kind of came out last year. Sony and Microsoft, believe it or not, they're partnered up, working on cloud-based gaming, and it's something that at the time, last year was sort of like a big news thing, but I feel like it's sort of under the radar now. Nobody ever thinks about it. It's like, obviously they're competitors at face value with the the new Xbox and the new PlayStation. But, I think they're both kind of worried that, things like, companies like Amazon and Google with these like cloud-based, systems and, coming out are, they don't want them taking their piece of the pie. So it's something where it's like, all right, let's team up and figure out this cloud-based thing so that these like other enormous companies don't come and eat our lunch. So that's kind of the last one I wanted to end on, because I think that's just, it's funny. It's like going into November here real soon, and these new consoles coming out, and these companies are going head to head. But on the backdoor side, they're just like, how are we, how are we just gonna like, let's figure this out. It's like, yeah, screw you. We definitely want to like beat you this fall as far as systems go, but Google and Amazon, they're like knocking at the door. So let's like share insider secrets and talk
Everyone's
about
afraid
this
of the next big contenders.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. It's sort of where things are at, where it's like Microsoft and Nintendo are playing nicely, and Sony and Microsoft are playing nicely, kind of on the corporate level, like in the boardrooms or the Zoom rooms or whatever they're doing nowadays. It's interesting where like the future might be going, where it's just Sony and Microsoft working together. They create like an amazing cloud-based infrastructure that might be on the Switch too. It's like
it's so weird to think about where the future's headed.
Yep,
for sure.
And Sega will be doing nothing.
They'll work on that next Sonic game.
Oh man. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of take take you through a little history there of like some interesting partnerships. So hope you enjoyed it.
That was cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, that is our show. We're out of time, and my battery's getting real close to dying on this laptop. So let's wrap this show up. So, like I said early in this episode, we're going to be doing this weekly again. Oh, yeah, you're going to get real sick of us. But we're going to be all over the place in your ears and in your face. I don't know what my webcam just did. It's, I think it's my battery. My battery's dying in my laptop. Probably should have plugged this in. Maybe next week, that's what I'll do. But anyways, you can check us out, on podcast services everywhere, as well as YouTube. You'll be seeing our ugly mugs there. You'll be seeing what Kahan's doing with his hands. I don't know what any of that is. But before we go, Kahan, can we find you anywhere? social media, any of that stuff? Are you doing stuff?
Yeah, I'll just put. Oh, I have to tell you it. Damn it, I forgot. I'll just put the picture in the audio podcast. Yeah, let me figure out. Yeah, it's just at Damavani Design. I'll just spell it out for you really quick.
Do it,
because you're not gonna know how to do it. It's at DAMAVANDIDESIGN.
Very catchy, very catchy.
Design. Yeah, very easy to remember. Here's a photo of it. Here's my another portfolio picture, and then my website. There you go. Yeah.
It's for audio listeners.
Oh yeah, for audio listeners.
And what's that at? Is that Twitter, Instagram?
Instagram.
MySpace?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness, you're
MySpace.
terrible.
I only use Instagram. I don't use Facebook. I detest Facebook, but Facebook makes you use it, so I detest it even more now.
I feel ya.
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah.
Joe, where can we find you?
You can find me here. I don't have any personal social media actually, so
No social life to speak of whatsoever.
this will be where you can find me.
All right, if you want to know what Joe's doing, go to his house. Bad football.
Here's his address.
Yeah, at least just tell them your address, Jeff.
All right, Hav, where can we find you, my man?
Jumpman_Ortiz on Instagram.
All right.
Pretty easy to spell.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ZachMatzGanis. That's ZachMatzGanis. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot more in the future. Obviously, I took a break basically with Multiplayered, but obviously you can go to @GoMultiplayered on Twitter and Instagram as well, or we're going to start posting some stuff. I'm going to force Kahan to do something. I'm gonna make Joe do something. Gonna start, we're gonna start doing some Let's Plays and all that kind of fun stuff. So this is the start of a new and beautiful relationship for Multiplayered, where we want to just start doing a bunch of silly things, from podcasts to Let's Plays to maybe some silly sketches in the future. We'll see what happens. Maybe maybe the world's going to end in the next month, but until then, we're going to keep making stuff. But yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and until next time, toodaloo.